Hello and welcome to Sunday Stills. Today we're going to be talking about photographing in sandstorms. This isn't, don't get me wrong, this isn't the worst sandstorm in the world, but I live near Dayton, Nevada, and Dayton, Nevada has, I don't know if you'd call it a sandstorm or a dust storm. I think it's probably a sandstorm, but they're not unbelievably severe sandstorms. They're not like those ones you see from Afghanistan and Iraq, but they're very consistent. So it's kind of pretty cool to live near a place that consistently has sandstorms. So I went down, it was pretty windy one day. I decided to head down to Dayton, and I think I actually got some pretty good images. Now, if you've ever photographed like a rainstorm, you'll know that it's difficult to get across to the viewer, as it were, how strong the storm was. Whenever you take a photo of the rain and you're not really paying attention, you take it, you put it in your computer, and you go, "Oh, I thought it was raining way harder than that. I remember raining really hard." It's like that, but it's actually harder because it's a dust storm, so you don't have the benefit of the ground being wet or people hiding from the water. But that being said, I think it's way more fun to shoot in a dust storm and way more unique than a rainstorm. So we're gonna, like I said, there's no video footage, but so I'm gonna get a little more into the pictures, a little more about how I did them and the gear I used than normal. But it's definitely gonna be a more technical episode, but a very unique one. All right, so this is the first one we're gonna look at. I like this image because it doesn't matter where you live in the country, you've driven in a snowstorm, a sandstorm, or a rainstorm. One of those. If you drive a car, you've driven through one of those. So it's something every person can familiarize themselves with. It shows how little visibility there is and how much just how much sand is in the air. Okay, okay, calm down. It's a blurry picture of a tumbleweed. It didn't work. But the concept was very cool. What I wanted to do, this is out in Lake Lahontan, which is one of my favorite places to photograph, as I've mentioned over and over again. And there were these Russian thistles blowing across the dry lake bed, and I thought, I'll get a moving shot of one of those. Could not do it. But this was as close as I got. The concept, I'm very happy with. If I see it again, I'm going to try for it again. I don't think this one works, but next time. Definitely I'm going for next time on this shot. So this image may not show off the dust storm particularly. I like it, it's unique, it's a heavy contrast black and white. But what I like about it is I'm still using the sandstorm. And that's kind of something I wanted to explain. When you're shooting in like a rainstorm, a sandstorm, or a snowstorm, sometimes the subject doesn't have to be the sandstorm, snowstorm, or rainstorm. Sometimes it can be the background. What I like about this image is the background is hazed out by the sandstorm, and it brings the eye to that contrast of the white brush and the black sand. And it was just a kind of a unique opportunity because without the sandstorm, this photo, I wouldn't even have stopped to take this photo. This is probably one of my favorite images from the day. I really like heavy contrast black and white. I like the sky. I like the clouds. I like the brush. This, I don't usually just put a photo up to talk, to say, look what I did. I like this one. It might be a personal thing. You might think, all right, the sky is out a little overblown. The ground's too dark. There's just something about it I like. I'm not going to print it, but, it might be my PC background for a little while. I don't know, something about it. If you like this image, tell me. Or let me know in the comments, because if you don't like it, that's fine. I know a lot of people won't like it. Just let me know if you do, because I'm trying to understand why I like it so much. I like this image. I took this image because I like the contrast between the salt, the dried salt, and then the dead plant life. The sandstorm helped in that, the background is hazed out. It gives it kind of a uniqueness that I'm not going to be able to shoot at any other point other than while that sandstorm is going on. I probably photographed this burnt piece of wood more than I photographed my dog, which is saying quite a lot. But of all the photos I took of that day, I think this one shows off how big a sandstorm it was. I mean, you've got blowing sand in the foreground, you've got an object to look at. The background is almost completely gone through the sand. I like the lighting, I like the contrast. This was one of the photographs I took and went, all right, it was worth getting my ears filled with sand, risking my lens, risking my camera, risking the paint on my car. This photograph was the reason I was happy I went out. Because if I don't get a good photograph in the middle of a sandstorm, it's a hell of a waste. If there's one thing better than photographing a log in a sandstorm, it's people. It's not often I get to shoot people in America because I get really nervous. I've talked about it before, but I don't do street photography without being in a group. It's just not something I feel comfortable in unless there's like a disaster. And a sandstorm is pretty close to a disaster. So what happened was I photographed, again, my poor friend's kid who is becoming like the most abused photo model in the world. You might recognize him from last episode. And I just turned around and I saw him trying to get the sand out of his eyes and his face. And being a photographer, rather than help him, I began taking photographs. And what amazed me when I started to take the photographs is he stopped trying to block the sand so that I could get the photograph of him. I must have taken 30 or 40 photographs of him in the sand. And it was just amazing to me that the sand was sticking to every bit of moisture on his face. I mean, it was doing the same thing to me, but I just, there's some times when you take a photograph and you go, I think that was a very good photograph. And there's other times when you turn around and you see it and you already have the photograph in your mind. It's already there. And then you just start shooting and shooting. This kid is amazing. I mean, I have to give him a hand in that never complained once. He wanted to come with me. I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yep." Never complained once. Told everybody he had a great time. And I know that maybe it looks a bit odd to take a kid through the sandstorm, but look, I mean, this is a portrait completely unique to him. All the other kids at his school, they're gonna, look at their photographs when they were kids, in 12 years or whatever, and it'll all be them at birthday parties in their backyard, and then, he's gonna go, well, no, I was out in the Dayton dust storm on Lahontan. Here's a photograph, and I guess partly I'm just excited that I'm going to be able to photograph this kid in much more extreme ways than you usually get to with like a model, and that's going to be part of his life growing up. And I hope he doesn't change his opinion of photography, because he hasn't really showed an interest in being a photographer, but he's amazing to work with. I mean, I'll stop prattling on about him, but I've worked with some very good models for fashion shoots and things like this. I've never worked with anyone better. I've never worked with anyone tougher. Just the images of him that I get are among some of my favorite people shots ever. So, hats off to him. Alright, that about wraps it up for this video-less episode of Sunday Stills. Remember, if you'd like to see any of the images you saw today in full resolution, please take a look at the link below. If any of these so caught your heart and you'd like to order a print, all you need to do is send me a message. That's about it. Next week, I think I'm probably going to head up to Lake Tahoe. Just kidding, I actually already did. Got some very good images I'm happy with. Actually shot some video this time, though some of it got corrupted, so you might get to see me make an ass of myself and drop some of my gear into a lake, or you might not. We'll see. Remember to, if you've got any questions or comments, please let me know. I try to get back to them as quickly as possible. So, till next time, I don't know. Do I need a catchphrase like keep shooting or something like that?